Hello, my name is Arthur, and in the last video we fixed a major problem with where the text tag for the search tag was declared, and we put it into the structure for each of the individual pages, because otherwise the only tags that would ever work would be the one in the last open tab. So in this video we're going to go forward and we're going to try to get our next or our replace and our replace all buttons working. So let's actually look a little bit at how that would function. So let's try a search word here with replace. Now what we want to get an idea for is how this is going to work. So we have widget, it's highlighted. I have a little fake replace with statement into the bar. Now what we want to see is what happens if we insert a cursor here. So the buttons are still active, but what does the button do when we press it? Because there's nothing selected to replace it. What it does is it looks for the next selection. So now if we replace that selection, it's going to replace this one selection. So that's the behavior that we'll be looking to accomplish, and we'll attempt to get the replace button working and see how that works out. Now I was thinking that in all likelihood we're going to be using highlight result as part of replace and replace all, especially replace all. So we're probably going to need to add in a third argument for a boolean to indicate whether the function should make it scroll or not. And looking at the script that we have here, once we get to this statement here, if it hasn't been kicked out right here, no matter what, at the end of all of these statements, it's going to scroll. So what we're going to look to do here is we're going to take the scroll to iter statement that's made repeatedly and stop making it repeatedly. So let's copy that out and we're just going to comment it out. Let's find where that should go exactly. So that should come down here. We'll paste it in and we'll comment it out in all of these lines, just to save us having to put it back if this goes south and doesn't work. So we'll comment it there and here and there and everywhere it needs to be commented. And that will make it easier for us to manage, because if we put in a boolean for scroll, it would become if scroll then do this, and that way if we can use that, we can use that. So what we're going to need is we're going to need some functions. They're going to go beneath highlight result, because highlight result is going to be utilized by these functions. So these are void functions. This will be replace clicked. It will receive a GTK widget called button, and it will receive a G pointer, which we're going to call buffer. Then we can just copy this function. So we'll copy that, we'll paste it, and later on we're going to have to come back to our own copy and paste. So we'll change this to replace all clicked, because I think there may be an issue with our copy and paste when it comes to hotkeys. That still needs to be addressed, because I mentioned back when we did that we would come back to some hotkey stuff, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have to do that. So we'll go down to the creation of the replace bar, where we're going to need to add in right here a GTK entry buffer, and let's type that properly. GTK entry buffer called buffer, and down here we actually have the statement to get that buffer, so we'll just go like this and copy it. So buffer equals GTK entry get buffer GTK entry field. So we get the buffer from the field. Now we want to hook up the signals for our buttons. So let's also borrow a button statement just to do things a little bit quicker here. So we'll copy that out and we'll paste it in right here. So the button we're doing is replace. I'll need to spell that right. We will be calling clicked. This will be replace clicked. And for our G pointer data, we're going to pass buffer. And that should give us a handle to the buffer. Because in this event, we can do it this way. So we can copy that out and just modify this signal to accommodate the replace all button. So we'll go replace all. We'll go replace all. And that should take care of our signals for button press. So that gets our button press events in place. And let's see, we're up here, pass search text. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to know is if we're doing anything at all. So that check is right here in search text, where we check that the buffer has something in it. So we'll borrow that out, and getting a little liberal with the copy and paste script here, but it's much quicker for the video's sake to do it this way. And when it comes to things that I already wrote, I'm a lot less shy about copying and pasting. So this we're going to change to buffer. Whoops, that's not quite what I was looking to do. Buffer. Okay, so if there's nothing in the buffer, we'll get kicked right out of there. The next thing we're going to want to know is if the text field, the text view for the open tab, has a selection. So that would be if not, GTK text buffer get has selection. So that returns a Boolean. It has a selection made or it does not have a selection made. So here we're going to have to have a page number. Int page equals current tab. So book at page index dot buff, and we'll do the same thing. Tab return. That will kick us out of there. Actually, that's not exactly what we want to do. We want to bracket this. So let's we'll tab back to where we belong. We'll close that. We'll come back here, and we're going to make a function call, because what we want it to do is we want it to highlight the next result. Because we've determined there's something in the buffer, so it's a valid search happening, but no selection is made. So what happens in this software is it goes forward to the next result. So we'll do this, highlight result. When we want to get the next result, we pass it as 0 for the count. That way nothing gets initialized or changed. And we pass a positive 1 to move forward 1 index. So this one would be conditional also. So else. Now we've established there is a selection, and we're looking to overwrite that selection. So to do that, we're going to call up some documentation. We're going to use text buffer delete. So we'll delete that. So we'll go GTK text buffer delete book at index page dot buff, comma, the two iters, and these are global iters, so they're holding the position of the selection right now because the selection exists. The iters must be around it. So we're in t start, comma, end t end. So that will delete. Then the next thing we want to do is insert, and we'll use insert at cursor. And because of the nature of a selection, the selection is a bound, and once we delete that bound, there's a like a gravity to it, so there's what direction it was selected in. When that bound is deleted, that's where the cursor exists. So we'll go GTK, let's make sure we're here, GTK text buffer insert at cursor book at index page dot buff, comma, and we need something to insert. So to get our insertion word, we'll be going, let's borrow this directly from the search text function, and just to save the typing time again. So we're up here. We need to get this word. So constant char word, and the buffer was passed with the G pointer as buffer. So that gets our word. Insert at cursor, comma, word. So I think that should get us going. I think that's that's how replace would look. So we'll save that. We'll compile it. See if we managed that. Okay, highlight result. Delete. Okay, that should be it, hopefully. Oh, it's not. Too few arguments. GTK buffer insert at cursor. Okay, let's see. Oh, length. So buffer word and length is -1. We'll save that. We'll open a document, our typical test document. We'll just grab buffer. We'll open up search and replace. That highlights one. So we'll go something. So we'll attempt to change buffer to something, but first off, we're going to unhighlight it to see if we get the desirable behavior. And I still haven't changed the position of replace and replace all, which I probably should do. So we got the desired behavior. There was no selection made. See, we take off the selection, we go replace, it picks the next one. Now, if we do it like this, it's been changed to something. Now, unfortunately, I can't undo that. So, kind of a dangerous button at this point. So let's discard that. So we'll close and discard. We'll just close this up. So that gets replaced clicked working. Let's just quickly rip down to where we build our search bar. So let's see. We just want to change the order of our buttons. So we'll cut this one out. We'll paste it in here. We'll fix that bad tab. We'll save that. We'll run it. So that changes the order of our button. That's a pretty simple procedure, right? So that gets our replace button working. In the next video, we'll look at putting in changes to do the replace all button. And the replace all button won't do that little check. It's not going to look for something to be highlighted. It'll just rip through the whole document and change all of them. And the way that we're looking to do that will be changes to the actual highlight result to include a boolean to decide if it should scroll or not. So when we're just highlighting a result through this function, it will scroll. But when we're utilizing this function to replace all, it will not scroll, but it will still go through and do all of the text highlighting so that it can be deleted and replaced. So that'll be in the next video, and until then, I hope this was helpful. Take care.